President Donald Trump is now bragging about the elimination of a rule meant to increase the prevalence of affordable housing in the suburbs. So now on Twitter, he wrote this. I'm happy to inform all the people living their suburban lifestyle dream, which, by the way, 40 million people are unemployed, uh, that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market and crime will go down. I've rescinded the Obama Biden AFH rule. Enjoy. Okay. Oh, man. Finally, that affordable housing. What a bother. Having all those poor minorities have a shot at being near me. Which, by the way, it's actually pretty difficult to even get a home at this point for a lot of people. It's very costly, and there's a lot of people that don't qualify for loans, especially now that we're kind of in a economic recession here. But that said, Trump supporters super happy. Oh, they love it. And this is about the most honest that Donald Trump has ever been. He's literally saying, I don't like the poor. I don't like the poor. I don't want them in your neighborhoods. Fantastic. So now let me give you more details about this. So he actually rescinded this rule last week, and now he's talking about it, right? And so now it's actually the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. And it was an Obama administration, Obama Biden rule that requires cities and towns which receive federal money, taxpayer money, for any housing or urban development related purpose to examine whether or not there are any barriers to fair housing. So, for example, these would be along racial or ethnic lines, things like that, right? And so what it did is that the rules, and this was actually part of the Fair Housing Act passed, I believe, back in the 60s, part of the Civil Rights Act. And it was amended by President Obama in 2015 to require cities and towns, in order to receive funding from housing and urban development, to document patterns of racial bias in their neighborhoods, to publicly report the results every 3 to 5 years, and to set goals in order to reduce housing segregation, right? And so it did so by looking at the housing patterns or practices that promote bias based on any protected class under the Fair Housing Act, and to create a plan, like I said, for fixing those things. So now, why is that important to do? Well, it's important because it's said that homeownership is often one of the best ways of creating wealth, especially generational wealth, right? I'm not sure how true that is today. It's certainly a gigantic way to create debt, as I am personally, noticing, right? And well, again, housing prices are incredibly high right now. I think we're going towards another housing bubble, or actually in the middle of a housing bubble with real estate prices so high, and of course being out of reach for many people. But look, generally, I guess I could say owning your own home, pretty good thing, right? It's nice. And in a lot of ways, it's superior to renting. And so what this rule did is basically try to promote more home ownership in the suburbs, and really to promote minority home ownership. So now there's some conservatives that are pretty unhappy about this, right? Donald Trump also not happy about this. For some reason, he likes housing segregation, keeping the minorities out of the suburbs. Maybe they like that white flight there. And now, here comes Obama back in 2015 saying we should increase black home ownership in the suburbs. Well, when he tried doing that, and when he did pass this rule, Republicans accused him of social engineering. Social engineering. Okay, hold on. Right. You should want all Americans to have a chance at living in a nice home in the suburbs if they choose, right? It's called freedom, right? Well, what's wrong with that? Well, there are racist white people happen to live in the suburbs, and a lot of them are Republican voters, and they don't want blacks in their neighborhood. That's it. I mean, generally, they fled the inner cities to go live in the suburbs. And so now they're in the suburbs. They're like, well, we don't want the black people from the inner cities coming and living in our neighborhoods. Well, so now here's the thing, right? So now those suburbs, the reason that they do very well and have generally, a pretty high standard of living, it's not because it's all white people, right? No, it's they have good schools. I mean, they have people with pretty good incomes, and the way that we fund schools in America in these neighborhoods, those neighborhoods have good schools, and of course, since you have good education, right, that leads to better outcomes, no matter the race, right? And so, for example, you put a black kid in a well-funded school, very, very good chance. In fact, they got about the same chance of actually doing fairly well economically, right? And having success. Education is one of the biggest ways of becoming successful, as well as, of course, opportunity in those same neighborhoods with the nice schools and all that. And so, why wouldn't we want more minority home ownership in the suburbs with the nice schools? I mean, seriously. Well, again, that it goes back to racism, right? You got a lot of Karens in the neighborhood that are pretty scared of their kids being around, those people, right? Even though, again, as I said, better education, better job opportunities, generally actually create a better socio-economic atmosphere with lower crime rates. Yeah. And so what Donald Trump's doing is, the crime rates are going to skyrocket in these suburban areas with the low income housing. Dog whistle. It's not just a dog whistle, okay? It's a bullhorn. Everybody knows exactly what he's saying, what he's trying to do, right? Who he's trying to reach out to. Now, here's the thing. So he actually did pretty well with the suburbs. So you got white people in the suburbs, white, wealthy Republicans, essentially, in suburban areas that voted for him back in 2016. Now he's losing these areas to Joe Biden. Okay, well, so now he's trying to use the racist angle to say, well, the blacks are coming to your neighborhood. They're going to bring the crime and they're going to bring the drugs and they're going to lower your property values and all of that. And so basically what he's doing is again, race baiting and trying to appeal to that in order to get their votes. I don't know if it'll work. I must be honest with you, right? Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Maybe people are like super disgusted at Donald Trump and are like, no, I don't believe that's going to happen, or, whatever, right? It's just one of the desperate ways, I think, that he's trying to retain the white base, right? The white Republican base, which some of the Democrats, again, because of how conservative Joe Biden is, are saying, well, Joe Biden is a Democrat that we can stomach. And so, we'd rather have him than Donald Trump, who was way, way too honest about his racism.